I was born a total coward, absolutely terrified of dying, yet I somehow reincarnated into the capital's most uncompromising censor-in-chief's family. My dad is famously stubborn, a real tough nut to crack. To fiercely lecture the emperor, even if it means his death, he actually buys his coffin in advance and leaves it right in the main hall. And my mom? She's a fierce warrior from a family of loyal martyrs, ready to grab her blade and charge into battle at any moment for the sake of the nation. She'd gladly die on the battlefield. My two brothers? One spends all day impeaching nobles and offending people, while the other is defending an isolated city, swearing to live and die with it. I'm the only one here clinging to life. I've dug 10 escape tunnels under the house, and I even wear 3 layers of soft armor just to sleep. I go to bed hugging my escape map every single night. I always suspected I was swapped at birth by this bunch of reckless lunatics. That is, until today, when a highly righteous orphan girl showed up at our door, holding a blood-stained letter. I'm the true daughter of the censor's estate, she claimed. I was so thrilled, I almost dropped down and kowtowed to her 3 times right on the spot. I knew it, a wimp like me, who hears thunder and immediately dives under the table, could never be the biological child of this bunch, who literally throw their lives away like martyrs. Hurry up and test the blood. I can't endure another second of this doomed life, where we could all get executed on any given day. Where's the fresh water? Where are the silver needles? I was more eager than anyone else, snatching the iron basin straight out of the maid's hands. Dad, hurry up, get a move on. Dad stepped forward, staring solemnly at Ao Shui. He pricked his finger, and a single drop of blood fell into the water. Ao Shui also braced herself and sliced her fingertip. The whole family stared intensely at that palm-sized porcelain bowl. The 2 drops of blood slowly drifted across the surface of the water, and then, they completely merged together. I spun around and bolted. I sprinted back to my bedroom like a maniac, and slung my 3 pre-packed, giant travel bags right onto my back. Ao Shui was absolutely dumbfounded. She never saw this crazy stunt coming. Shen Mingshu, what on earth are you doing? Moving out, obviously. I took the secret keys to the treasury, the noble daughter's jade pendant, and an inventory of 36 spring and summer outfits, and shoved them all right into her arms. Oh, right, hold on to this one. I tossed a battered little notebook at her. Ao Shui glanced down at it. The Censor Estate's Ultimate Escape Guide. The first page had a big note. Dad lectures the Emperor once a month. He buys his coffin 3 days in advance. The moment you see that wooden box, immediately slip away through the backyard's secret tunnel. Ao Shui was completely speechless. I completely ignored her, and with my bags on my back, I took a big step out the front door. But suddenly, a pair of arms wrapped tightly around my legs. It was Dad, the mighty censor-in-chief, a top minister of 3 generations, was clinging to my thigh for dear life, crying his eyes out. My sweet girl, Dad is so sorry. It's my fault. I couldn't even give you a single day of peace and safety. I've made you suffer so much. Please, don't leave me. If you leave, it will be the death of your old man. Dad, please, let go of me. I actually want to leave. The more you say that, the more it breaks my heart. With a massive crash, Mom charged out wielding an 18-foot snake spear. She smashed the door frame with one thrust. Who dares to drive away the precious baby I have loved for 16 years? I will chop them to pieces. Mom, please, calm down. No one is forcing me. I just wanted to sneak away on my own. Ao Shui's face turned completely green. She let out a sinister laugh. Oh, perfect. I am going to report this right now. Wouldn't that completely piss off the Emperor? Once His Majesty keeps a close eye on our censor family. Considering how many times Dad casually insults the Emperor every day, our entire clan would probably be dragged away and thrown into death row by tonight. Freaking out, I yanked Ao Shui back. Please don't report us. She is right. You are the biological daughter. You should be in charge of this house. All the money is yours. It is all yours. My 2 brothers happened to run back home right then. My oldest brother proudly thumped his chest. All right. One is my biological sister. Today, even if the King of Heaven himself shows up, and the other is the adopted sister I have spoiled for 16 years. We are keeping both of you. My second brother decisively snatched my bag away and violently ripped it open. Then, 8 pounds of muscle paralyzing powder, 4 stealth suits, and 3 wilderness survival manuals, along with a handmade first aid kit, all came crashing to the floor. Mom's eyes welled up with tears. You even had stealth suits, fully prepared and ready to go. Are you preparing to go beg on the streets? I was dragged and tossed right back into my room. Late at night, at 1 in the morning, all the lights in the courtyard went out. In the pitch dark, I pushed open the secret passage under my bed. I crawled into secret tunnel number 3. I had been digging this tunnel for 3 whole years. It led straight to the ancient temple in the east of the city, with the exit hidden right under a Buddha statue's butt. I dragged my little backpack and crawled for 20 meters, when suddenly, a beam of light flashed ahead. Ao Shui was waiting right at the corner of the tunnel, staring at me with a completely deadpan expression. Caught you. How on earth did you find this place? That little runaway guidebook of yours says on page 37, the entrance to secret tunnel number 3 is right under your bed. It recommends traveling on rainy nights, so you won't leave any footprints. Shen Mingshu, sneaking around in the middle of the night like this. Are you trying to run off with the censor family's money? I am not. Ao Shui suddenly ripped open my bag. Steamed buns, medicinal oil for bruises, cooling pills, 3 matches, along with a crudely hand-stitched gas mask. Ao Shui stood there stunned for a second. After that, she called the entire family over. Dad held up an oil lamp, peering into the secret tunnel. Seeing all that survival gear neatly lined up, his face was absolutely covered in tears. Mom picked up the gas mask, her hands trembling. Just look at this stitching. Our little girl sewed this by hand. Big brother knelt down, checking the supplies one by one. Bruise ointment, fever pills, bandages. These are all life-saving tools. She didn't pack a single valuable thing for herself. Mom suddenly burst into loud wails. My poor girl knew our family could face disaster at any moment. These are escape bags she prepared in advance for all of us. And if she had to run, she wouldn't even take a dime. She saved it all for us. Ao Shui stood off to the side, her entire worldview completely shattered. She looked at my parents, who were crying uncontrollably, and then looked at me, looking utterly dead inside. This whole family must have a screw loose, right? That very night, Dad laid down a new rule. To keep Mingshu from suffering and having to beg on the streets, he had my big brother lead the guards overnight. To fill the first 5 secret tunnels in the courtyard completely with cement. I slumped on the courtyard floor, watching the cement pour right into my escape routes. I felt like I was being slowly suffocated right along with them. Tunnel number 3 took me 3 years to dig out. Tunnel number 4 took me 2 years. And tunnel number 5, I actually hired a professional to reinforce it. All completely ruined. My tears just kept falling and falling. But in everyone else's eyes, those were tears of filial love and devotion for the family. Mom hugged me tight, and dropped a line that chilled me right to the bone. My sweet girl, after your father submits his petition tomorrow, if you still want to dig secret tunnels, Mom will dig them for you. I do not want you to dig them for me. I am begging you, do not submit that petition. When Ao Shui left, she paused at the door for just a second. Shen Mingshu, this little game of playing hard to get. I am going to completely expose it sooner or later. Oh, Ao Shui, just expose it already, okay? I am begging you, do me a favor and let me escape. But she just let out a cold sneer, and walked away. With my tunnels destroyed, I had to fake an illness. I planned to just lay low the next day. This sick-in-bed routine lasted for 3 days, until Mom poured a bowl of herbal tonic down my throat to wake me up. All because the Emperor was throwing an evening banquet, and specifically requested that both of the censor's daughters attend. Both of us, meaning me too. And of course, Ao Shui as well. At the evening banquet, the royal consort was smiling as brightly as a blooming flower. But anyone could tell, her sweet face was hiding daggers. I heard the Lord Censor's family has gained another daughter. Ao Shui and I were sitting right next to each other, when she suddenly spoke up. Reporting to your highness. I am the true flesh and blood of the Imperial Censor's estate. While this one beside me was merely for the sake of the past 16 years of, she purposefully paused for a second. She wanted me to make a fool of myself in front of the noble consort, so His Majesty would despise me. That way, she'd have every right to kick me out of the estate. Your Highness is absolutely right. I suddenly sprang to my feet. I slammed my hand down, knocking over my own wine goblet. I'm nothing but a wild village girl. I don't know the first thing about manners. I can't even read. Just yesterday, I sneaked into the kitchen and polished off half a roast chicken. I'm a total coward, terrified of bugs, snakes, and thunder. Last time I saw a creepy crawly. It scared me so badly I jumped straight off the second floor. The grand ladies in the hall all hid their faces behind their fans, their eyes filled with utter disgust. The more Ao Shui listened, the more she realized something was off. Shen Mingshu. Before she could finish her sentence, 3 assassins suddenly dropped from the rafters of the main hall. A cold blade sliced through the candlelight, and terrified screams erupted. The assassins charged straight for the noble consort. My body reacted before my brain even could. 16 years of pure survival instinct kicked in, driving me straight off my seat and diving right under the table. But my escape route happened to perfectly trip the lead assassin right by the leg. He face planted hard onto the brick floor. The second assassin moved incredibly fast, slashing his sword right at my back. Sparks flew everywhere, and his sword snapped in half. I had 3 layers of golden chainmail on. I wore them religiously, spring, summer, autumn, and winter. It was my ultimate trump card for staying alive. The assassin stared at his broken blade, stunned for half a second, and in that split second, I whipped out the pepper spray from my sleeve and gave him a massive blast. The assassin clutched his eyes with both hands, howling and rolling around on the floor. The third assassin's sword was already pressed against Ao Shui's throat. I kicked the desk over and lunged at her, pinning Ao Shui to the ground. My pepper spray went off with another huge blast. In the blink of an eye, all 3 assassins were completely wiped out. The main hall was dead silent for a good while. The Emperor stepped out from behind the screen. He first looked at the screaming assassins clutching their eyes. Incredible, His Majesty burst into roaring laughter. A true tiger, daughter of a general, risking life and limb, bravely saving the noble consort. Bullshit. I was literally running for my life. That day, His Majesty bestowed a title upon me, the Valiant Princess. He rewarded me with a golden medallion and a grand estate. But then he added a deadly catch. This girl is the ultimate role model for the noble ladies of Great Chu. She shall never leave the capital for the rest of her life. Ao Shui stared at that golden medallion. The look in her eyes clearly said, "Is this girl actually just acting? Or maybe I really was just a coward." The dark truth behind the banquet assassination finally came to light 3 days later. We intercepted a secret letter. The assassins were planted by His Majesty himself. It was a stage play. From beginning to end, it was all just a show. The Emperor wanted to use the assassination as an excuse to force Dad to hand over his military command and the power to appoint officials in the censorate. But there was an even deeper scheme waiting. The moment that imperial decree came down, our whole family was doomed. To show his profound imperial favor, a marriage was arranged with the Grand Marshal of the northern borders. To stabilize diplomatic relations, she was to leave the border gates and head north. The Grand Marshal of the Northern D, a bloodthirsty butcher, a maniac who gets his kicks from flaying captives alive. This wasn't a marriage, it was a death sentence. Dad immediately tore the decree right in half. He ordered his men to take the coffin from the main hall, move it right to the center, and then he put on his official robes. He was planning to protest to the death the next morning. Mom didn't say a single word. She just turned around, marched into the back quarters, and spent the whole night sharpening her blades. My eldest brother went to rally his old troops. My second brother was still at his guard post, so the news hadn't even reached him yet. Ao Shui stood out in the courtyard, gripping her quiver of arrows. And me? I was curled up under my blanket, shaking like a leaf. Late that night, when I pulled out that final key from under my bed, secret passage number 10, I had spent 10 whole years digging out my ultimate escape tunnel with a shovel. The entrance is in a dried-up well under the rockery in the back garden. The exit is 30 miles out of town, in a hunter's shack. I reinforced the whole thing with wooden supports, and even left air vents. Not even Dad knows about this hideaway. Inched forward, bit by bit. Halfway through, the ground above rumbled, a heavy, deep vibration. The thundering sound of galloping horses. I pressed myself right under an air vent, looked up, and saw thousands of torches, lighting up the alleyways right beside our censorate manor. The Imperial Guards, at least 3,000 heavy cavalry. They had locked down our estate, tight as a drum. Right then, I heard Ao Shui's voice. Dressed in red, gripping her blade. She stood right in front of our main gates. You want me to marry him? Fine, you'll have to step over my sword first. The captain of the guards just laughed. Nobody in the censorate manor is getting out alive today. Blades were drawn. Ao Shui fought off the first wave, then the next. They left a bloody gash right on her arm. Dad charged out, only to be pinned into the mud by a group of guards. Mom's heavy snake halberd swept down 2 soldiers. But even more men piled on. My eldest brother was locked in heavy wooden shackles. Collapsed on the ground, his forehead completely covered in blood. My fists clenched tight in the secret tunnel. I watched the whole nightmare unfold through the air vent. The way out, it was right in front of me. Just 15 more minutes of crawling, and I'd be home free. Once I got out, I'd head straight south. I had a plot of land waiting for me in Nanjing, and enough cash saved up for a fresh start. I'd change my name, and just live out my days as an everyday citizen. I'd celebrate the new year in total peace. I kept inching forward. 10 meters in, I froze again. My mind was completely flooded with the image of Ao Shui's arm. That nasty, bloody scar. She hasn't even been with our family for a full month. We owed that girl 16 years of debt, yet there she was, dressed in red, guarding the absolute front line. I crawled another 10 meters, and stopped dead. My old man's agonized screams echoed down through the air vent. They were muffled, like someone was crushing his windpipe. In his entire life, Dad had only ever cried like that in front of me. My fingernails dug deep into the dirt. The exit was right there. I could literally see the moonlight outside. That beautiful, peaceful moonlight. I took a single step toward it, and then, I heard my mom's voice. Just run away, my sweet girl. She had a cold blade pressed right against her neck, and she was still smiling. Smiling because her little girl finally made it out. I squeezed my eyes shut. Flashes hit me, Dad clinging to my legs, Mom guarding the doorframes with her life. My big brother packing my runaway bags, and Ao Shui. That stubborn girl who always looked at me like an enemy. Right this second, she was using her own body to block arrows for my entire family. Meanwhile, here I was, standing safely on the outskirts of town. I let out the loudest, craziest curse of my entire life. Damn it, I really owe you absolute lunatics. I whipped around, and dug deep into my survival bag. With one massive strike, I smashed open the tunnel hatch, exploding out of the dirt right under the enemy captain's feet. I, Shen Mingshu, am not running away this time. Sure, I value my life, but I never said I couldn't slaughter some enemies. A single poison dart pierced straight through the captain's windpipe. His eyes bulged in pure shock, and he collapsed into the dirt. Every single guard froze, staring at the living, breathing girl who just erupted from the ground. My hair was a wild mess, my face covered in absolute filth. I raised my dart launcher. Oh, look, another one with a death wish. The lieutenant drew his blade and charged right at me. I immediately turned and bolted. But as I ran, I hurled my smoke bombs behind me. Thick, yellow fog instantly swallowed up the entire front hall of the manor. The smoke choked the guards, leaving them coughing up their lungs and crying their eyes out. Their whole formation completely shattered. That smoke bomb? I brooded myself, using a custom mix of black pepper, sulfur, and raw quicklime. I originally packed it to cover my own escape. I charged back into the deadly fog, grabbing Ao Shui right by the collar. Fall back, now. Shen Mingshu. You didn't bail, let's skip the small talk. I dragged her along, sprinting toward the abandoned well. Halfway there, I yanked Dad along, and she grabbed Mom. My eldest brother stumbled and crawled, trailing right behind us. All 5 of us leapt into the dry well and sprinted for our lives down the secret passage. 500 meters later, the tunnel suddenly opened up. An underground sanctuary, bright as day, appeared right before our eyes. 6 stone rooms and a cellar packed to the brim with rations and supplies. Walls lined with weapon racks, heavy broadswords, light crossbows, and poison spikes. In the corner, there was actually a clear spring, and a fully set-up stove. The whole family was completely dumbfounded. Dad's voice was shaking. Kiddo, are you planning a full-blown rebellion? I shoved Ao Shui onto a stone chair. angrily wiped the soot off my cheek, and snapped, "I was just hoping to survive after you guys botched your rebellion and got yourselves killed. When did you even build this place?" My brother walked in a circle around the stone room, getting more freaked out the more he looked. "Ever since I was 6. The day Dad brought a coffin into the main hall for the very first time. The whole family fell dead silent." "You did this all by yourself?" "Dug it out for 10 years. Mom's voice totally cracked. Aoshui suddenly grabbed my hand, staring at my arm, at a bloody scratch I didn't even realize I had. "You're bleeding." "It's just a scratch." She didn't say a word. She just grabbed some healing powder from the medicine cabinet, and gently applied it for me. Then, she whispered, "Thank you, big sis." That was the very first time she ever called me that. My eyes instantly welled up. Up on the surface, we could hear the royal guards tearing the place apart. But there was no way in hell they'd ever find secret passage number 10. Since the entrance was at the very bottom of the dry well, the hidden door in the wall could only be opened by pressing 3 specially marked bricks all at the same time. It was the masterpiece I had planned out 7 times, and revised 7 times over. After searching all night long, the captain of the guards had no choice but to report back to His Majesty. "The entire censor family has vanished into thin air." The emperor went absolutely ballistic. He immediately issued a warrant for our family's treason, putting a bounty of 10,000 gold bars on our heads. Dad snatched up a blade, ready to charge right back out. "Treason? I, Shen Chongli, have been fiercely loyal my entire life. How dare he frame me for treason? I'm going to fight him to the death." I slammed my hand hard onto the stone table. "Go get yourself killed if you want, but don't you dare waste the 10 years of rations I've saved up." The entire clan was looking right at me. "Right now, we do things my way." I slapped a hand-drawn map onto the table. "We're taking the secret passage out of the pass, and heading to the border to find Second Brother." The reason was painfully obvious. Second Brother commands the troops, and the border is far beyond their reach. The Emperor's blade can't stretch that far. Besides, I tapped the escape route on the map, which was covered in red circles. These 17 marked spots along the way. I spent 5 years buying up these hidden safe houses everywhere. My old man's mouth twitched. In the end, he just muttered one thing. "This girl. Are you sure she isn't my biological seed?" The evacuation took 2 days. By the 3rd night, the whole group was hiding out 40 miles beyond the city outskirts. Stopping at the very first safe house. This secret hideout was a small farmyard I bought when I was 12, using the alias Shen Xiaosao. Down in the cellar, I had stocked enough salted meat and spring water to last 3 full months. Aoshui laid that half-torn, blood-stained letter flat on the table, turning it over and over again. These bloody words were shoved into my hands by my adoptive father right before he breathed his last. He said it held the truth of my origins, but it was only half a page. He didn't have time to hand me the other half. I glanced over that withered, yellowed cloth. "Aoshui, hand me the blood letter." She hesitated for a moment before giving it to me. I reached into my medicine bag, and pulled out a bottle of iodine and a bottle of rice water. I first rubbed the iodine on the blank parts of the letter. Nothing happened. Then I applied the rice water. Faint, blue-purple handwriting began to appear on the plain paper. Invisible ink. Someone had used the blank space on the blood letter to leave another message, written in a secret ink that only shows up with a special solution. I leaned in for a closer look. Winter, 12th year of Yong'an. The Emperor sent death squads into the royal censor's estate, swapping the babies with the wet nurse. The biological daughter was left to wander the wilderness, using this trick to blackmail the censor. If Shen Chongli still dared to protest to the death, they would silently eliminate his own flesh and blood. After reading it 3 times, his fingers were trembling. It was him. It was him from the very beginning. Mother's sword slammed into the dirt floor, letting out a piercing clang. Our entire clan has been fiercely loyal. How dare he use my own flesh and blood as a bargaining chip? Aoshui's 16 years of bitter seasons, scattered across rural villages, suffering everyone's cold stares, begging for rice from 100 homes, seeking scraps from 100 doors. None of it was a coincidence. It was the Emperor's conspiracy. Aoshui hugged Mother tightly, wailing uncontrollably. Mother howled too. eldest brother violently punched the wall, striking it so hard that deep cracks spread across the mud bricks. I curled up in the corner, clutching that bottle of iodine. Staring at my family huddled together crying, my nose stung terribly with unshed tears. After her wailing subsided, Ao Shui looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. Shen Mingshu. I've gotta admit, sis, I always thought you were super scheming in the past. And now? Now I think. You're a super scheming good citizen. I pursed my lips. From now on, we all have our own jobs. You just focus on fighting the enemy and dominating the battlefield. Ao Shui wiped away her tears and laughed. We set out the very next morning and ran into a crisis right at noon. A group of galloping horses burst out onto the post road. Those aren't normal guards. Fall back. I dragged Ao Shui and plunged into the old forest. Right behind us, hidden blades sliced through 3 broken branches. Oldest brother and mom covered our retreat. Fighting as we fell back, I led everyone around 2 corners. With one palm, I pushed open a hidden door in the stump of a rotting tree by the road. Get in. This was an emergency connecting tunnel among the safe houses on this road. Even though it was only 30 steps long, the exit was hidden behind the cliff on the other side of the stream. After crossing the tunnel, I yanked the hemp rope by the entrance. Dozens of jars of black pepper buried in the secret passage exploded all at once. From behind us came the loud coughing of the Death Squad assassins. Coughing so hard they wished they were dead. Ao Shui was waiting by the river, waiting for those assassins, smoked out of their combat abilities, to stumble awkwardly out of the hidden door. She raised her sword and brought it down. Swift, clean, and satisfying. Dad stared at the assassins lying in the mud, then suddenly turned his head to look at me. My girl. Exactly how many of these traps did you leave on the road? Not many. How many? There are 18 more up ahead. Dad went totally silent. Half a month later, we arrived at the mountain pass. From far away, we could see that isolated city. The city walls were covered in torn, tattered military flags. Outside the city, it was densely packed with enemy camps. How long has this city been under siege? Half a month. The city is completely out of food and supplies. General Shen said, he will live or die with the city. Just another madman wanting to throw his life away for loyalty. How are we supposed to get in? Ao Shui stared at the heavily guarded enemy forces and frowned. The whole family turned to look at me again. 3 years ago, when my second brother and I came here, I casually dug a tunnel in the wasteland north of the city. The whole family was completely speechless again. What for? Just in case. This secret passage wasn't long. Only 200 steps. The entrance was under a fake coffin in a mass grave outside the city. After all, who would go digging up dead people's graves? The exit was under the floorboards of the city's granary. I led the whole family, swaggering right into the graveyard. We lifted the coffin lid and jumped into the dirt pit. By the time we came out, we were already inside the city. The exact moment my second brother bumped into us in the granary. The broken bowl in his hand smashed onto the floor. Dad? Mother, how did you all? He glanced around, and then his eyes landed on Ao Shui. Who's this girl? She's your biological sister. It's a long story. Ao Shui cupped her hands in respect. Brother. My second brother finally looked at me. Where on earth did you guys come in from? Through a secret tunnel I dug. My second brother froze for a second. Then he let out a laugh. I knew it, back then, when you insisted on guarding the border with me. I thought you were just here to experience military life. Nope, I was just scouting the place. The situation in the city was way worse than we had guessed. We have less than 800 defenders left, and half of them are wounded. Our rations will only last 3 days. My second brother pointed outside the city walls and said, they're attacking tomorrow. If they breach the gates, they'll slaughter everyone. My old man drew his sword. We fight to the very last man. Mother raised her blade. We'll leave our bodies on the battlefield. My eldest brother pumped his fist. Ao Shui drew her sword. Here we go again. Welcome to my family's ultimate loyal patriot competition. My second brother looked at me. Third brother. I know you care about the family. Take mom and dad and get out of here through the secret tunnel. I'll cover your retreat. I looked at the exhausted soldiers up on the wall, then looked at the terrified civilians hiding in their homes, too scared to even make a sound. And finally, I looked at this bunch of maniacs in front of me, who were practically begging to die for their country right then and there. Then, I unzipped the insanely heavy, ultimate getaway bag that I had dragged all the way from the capital. Honestly, it was more like a portable armory. 20 pounds of modified explosives, 30 time traps, and 100 heavy crossbow bolts tipped with grappling hooks. Oh, plus 6 barrels of industrial-grade lube and 10 bags of severe itching powder. My entire family just stared at me, like they were looking at a black market smuggler. Leave? Who said anything about leaving? I've been hoarding this sweet stash for 10 years, I've gotta use it at least once, right? Now, everybody listen to my orders. Ao Shui, take some troops and bait them from the front. Eldest and second brother, you hold the main gate at all costs. I'll be up on the watchtower doing what I do best. What's that? Setting traps. Dawn broke, the enemy formations lined up. The war drums pounded as 30,000 soldiers marched ruthlessly toward our walls. Once their siege ladders were locked in place, the first wave of enemy troops started scaling the walls. Now, I had already coated the outer walls with 3 whole barrels of that premium lube. Those poor bastards only made it halfway up before their hands slipped, and they all went tumbling right back down. They hit the ground hard, but scrambled up to charge again. The second they reached the battlements, a massive cloud of powder blasted right into their faces. Severe itching powder. The moment they breathed it in, their entire bodies erupted into an unbearable, maddening itch. The soldiers tossed their blades, scratching themselves like crazy. They scratched so hard they just tumbled right off the city walls. The guys below got crushed, catching that crazy itching powder too. It spread from man to man, soldier to soldier. Outside the walls turned into a massive group scratching party. The guards up on the tower were totally dumbfounded. My second brother's deputy general asked, his voice trembling. Third miss of the Shen family. What kind of battle tactic are you using? A survival tactic. Turn the enemy into a totally useless mess, and then make a run for it. Except today, there's no need to run. We push forward instead. Ao Shui stood at the front of the tower in a striking red dress, gripping her steel blade. Those lucky enemies who actually made it up the wall got completely wrecked by the itching powder and lube. Slipping and sliding everywhere, under her blade, they had absolutely no chance to fight back. Her strikes were incredibly fast and fierce. Clean and decisive, right as she took down the 20th enemy soldier. Big sis, on your left. Got it. I yanked the mechanism on the left side of the wall. 10 heavy rapid-fire crossbows I modified all night fired instantly. The sharp, barbed arrows, tipped with a little toxic coating, swept over the left side of the wall in a massive wave. The enemy soldiers climbing up were turned into absolute pincushions. After suffering for hours, the enemy commander, he finally lost his patience. He hopped onto his warhorse himself, and led his elite guards charging forward. All troops, charge with me. Flatten this city. 50 paces outside the city walls, I had totally hollowed out the ground, covering the top with a thin layer of dirt and grass. The moment the commander's horse stepped on it, boom, the ground caved in. They plummeted into a 30-foot deep giant pit. The bottom was completely covered in iron spikes. The commander instantly snapped his leg. Up on the wall, Ao Shui spotted the opening. She grabbed a rope and swung right down. Take that. The commander's grand banner snapped in half. All the city guards cheered at the top of their lungs. Outside the wall, the 30,000 troops. First, their morale was completely shattered by the lube and itching powder. Then they got smacked down by toxic arrows and hidden pits. Plus, their commander was captured alive. It was utter chaos. My second brother decisively threw open the main gates, and led the remaining 300 heavy cavalry charging right out. Ao Shui followed closely behind, 300 against 30,000. But honestly, the enemy couldn't even be called an army anymore. They were just 30,000 poor losers, scratching themselves completely crazy. An absolute victory. The enemy collapsed and fled for miles. The legend of the cowardly fake miss and the ruthless real miss. After this battle, their names shook the entire world. But before I even had time to celebrate, urgent news came from the capital. The emperor raised an army of 100,000 troops, with the prime minister personally overseeing the battle. And their swords weren't pointed at the border. They were coming for this fragile city. coming right for us, 100,000 troops. 3 days later, they marched on our city gates. Leading the army was the Chancellor, Zhao Kuangyi, my father's mortal enemy, the man he'd spent 18 years trying to impeach, using the collapse of the censorate as an excuse. That old fox completely slaughtered every single one of my father's loyal men back in the capital. Sitting high on his horse, he shouted up at the city walls, "If you draw your sword and slit your own throat, I, the Chancellor, will spare the people in this city. Otherwise, I will massacre the city." The terrified wails of the innocent civilians echoed from every corner. We had barely survived a grueling siege by foreign invaders, only to turn around and face the blades of our own government. My father gripped his sword tightly, his face pale and grim. I knew that look. He was ready to die for his honor. I pressed my hand hard against the hilt of his sword. "Father, give me 3 days. What are you planning? What I do best." The very next morning, I stood high on the city walls. Facing Chancellor Zhao's army, I sobbed until my lungs burned. "Please, Lord Chancellor, spare my life. My father has gone completely mad to rebel like this. It has nothing to do with me. I've been a coward my whole life, you know this." Sitting on his warhorse, Chancellor Zhao watched my little performance with deep amusement. On the third day, Ao Shui and I staged a massive, screaming fight on the watchtower. "You cowardly traitor, how could you do something so utterly disgraceful?" "Me, a coward? You're the one who doesn't know when to give up. You're bringing this doom on yourselves." As our fight reached its climax, I announced, in front of both armies, that I was cutting all ties with my father's estate. The Shen family's disaster is not my problem. I'm not even a real daughter of this house. I surrender. Right after that, I hogtied my own father and shoved him onto the wall. Ao Shui drew her sword, trying to strike me down, but my oldest brother dragged her back. Chancellor Zhao was absolutely overjoyed. "Excellent. Open the main gates. I shall personally accept their surrender." He led 3,000 of his elite guards, swaggering arrogantly, right into the city, but the moment his horse's hooves stepped inside the walled courtyard of the gates, a deafening rumble echoed from above. The massive stone portcullis slammed down. The front gates, sealed shut. The back gates, blocked completely. Chancellor Zhao and his 3,000 guards were completely trapped inside the towering stone walls of the kill zone. Chancellor Zhao looked up, staring right at me as I stood high on the watchtower. "Zhao Kuangyi, let me tell you a little secret. I truly am terrified of dying. Which is exactly why I prefer to eliminate anyone who threatens my life first." All around the walls, hidden hatches snapped open in unison. Pitch black heavy crossbows aimed right at them. Chancellor Zhao's face went deadly pale. Holding her blade, Ao Shui slowly stepped through the side door and walked right in. Shen Chongli's daughter has come to settle the score. The outcome was a foregone conclusion. The Prime Minister's head hung above the city gates. 100,000 soldiers lost their will to fight. The vanguard mutinied, and the rearguard fled. 3 days later, those 100,000 men either surrendered or scattered, vanishing like dust in the wind. On the 7th day after the Prime Minister's death, Father made the most painful choice of his life. The ancestral tablet of loyalty that had rested in our main hall for 20 long years was finally put away. A loyal servant, he had played the loyal servant for 20 years, and all it got him was his wife and daughter kidnapped, and our entire family investigated. Innocent people, treated as mere bargaining chips. Raising the banner of rebellion. When those words finally left his lips, it was like snapping one of his own ribs. I took the blood-written letter, the ironclad proof that the emperor had swapped the infants, and made 100 copies. Overnight, using the intelligence network I had poured a fortune into building over the years, I scattered them far and wide. In 3 days, the news spread across the 5 provinces. In 7 days, it shocked the entire empire. The people had long despised the tyrant. Rebel forces from all directions answered the call like a surging tide. But what truly made us unstoppable was not our military strength. For 10 years, I had been setting up safe houses across every province in Great Chu, hoarding military supplies. These outposts linked together to form a flawless supply line. From the borders straight to the capital, every 50 miles, there was one of my secret outposts. We had everything: rations, weapons, medicine. I originally set up these strongholds just to have an escape route. But now, they had transformed into the very foundation of our war effort. Father brought up that old question again. Little girl, just how much silver did you sink into this? I took my entire 16 years of allowance, my savings, and every penny I made from secretly dealing herbs. And threw it all in. How much was it? Roughly 40,000 taels. Father nearly collapsed. Our rebel army was unstoppable. 1 month later, we surrounded the capital. The emperor locked the 9 city gates in a desperate final struggle. The palace walls were high and thick. Even though the imperial guards' morale was crumbling, there were still over 20,000 of them. A frontal assault would mean countless casualties. Standing by the war table, I said, "Why bother fighting?" Second brother asked what I meant. Because it's just not necessary. I unrolled the final blueprint. On it was a detailed map of the imperial city's underground structures. When I was 14, using the palace-made training as a cover, I sneaked into the royal palace for 3 days. During those 3 days, I wasn't learning etiquette. I was mapping out the palace's foundations. After I got home, I spent the next 2 years using the sewage tunnels outside the city to reach the main support pillars deep beneath the royal palace. I packed an enormous amount of explosives all around them. You've been planting black powder under the palace since you were 14? Eldest brother's voice completely cracked. I didn't actually want to blow him up back then. I was merely leaving us a way out. Just in case he ever decided to wipe out our entire family. I had to nip that in the bud. I crossed the sewage channel all by myself, sneaking right under the imperial city. I checked the fuses. Everything was perfectly intact, but I didn't light them. Instead, I popped my head out at the end of the tunnel. Appearing right before the emperor's royal couch, he was slumped in his throne, clutching the imperial seal for dear life. Beside him stood 10 royal assassins. The moment they spotted me, 10 blades hissed out of their sheaths. Guards, they yelled, but I just held up the ignition cord in my hand. Your Majesty, do you have any idea how much explosive powder is packed right under your royal behind? 300 pounds. Enough to blow this grand hall, and every building within 1,000 feet, straight to dust. One end of this fuse is tied to my waist, and the other runs all the way underground. You could totally order them to cut me down. But the second I drop this rope, the flint attached to the fuse will strike. And we'll all go up in smoke together. The emperor just stared at me, dumbfounded. You're insane. I am not insane. I'm just terrified of dying. That's why I don't want a war. I don't want any bloodshed. I just need your Majesty's signature. I pulled an abdication edict from my sleeve, and placed it right in front of him. Or choose a spectacular death. Your pick. The emperor glared at me for a long time. Finally, he picked up the brush. The sound of the imperial seal slamming down was so incredibly heavy. On the day the new emperor ascended the throne, a light spring rain fell over the capital. I stood in the golden throne room wearing 5 layers of golden chainmail, hidden right under my brand new, elegant princess robes. I looked twice my normal size, but my confidence was absolutely maxed out. The new emperor was the virtuous prince of a collateral royal branch, backed by my father and the allied rebel forces. His very first edict cleared the name of the imperial censorate. It proclaimed to all the 9 provinces that Shen Chongli was loyal and unjustly wronged. The second edict officially allowed us to return to our roots. Our names were restored in the Shen family registry, and the title of Great General protecting the nation was granted. Taking command of the border troops, as the Great Chu dynasty's very first female general. Clad in treasured armor, Ao Shui stood in the throne room to receive the decree, her back perfectly straight and proud. And the third edict was a reward for me, Shen Mingzu. The new emperor looked at me with great amusement. You have achieved the merit of protecting the crown, the merit of protecting the capital, and the merit of putting down a rebellion. What reward would you ask of me? My entire family was staring at me. My father figured I'd ask for a first-rank noble title. My mother guessed I'd ask for a perfect husband, while my oldest and second brothers were placing bets. They thought I'd want gold bars, or maybe a luxury mansion. But Ao Shui didn't have to guess. She understood me completely. I immediately dropped to my knees. Your Majesty, I want that plot of land on the South Mountain. What for? To build a bunker with deep defensive trenches, 3 underground levels, and heavy-duty fireproofing, poison filters, and earthquake resistance. My own private fortress. The new emperor cracked up laughing uncontrollably. Granted. You are hereby granted the title of Princess Changla, along with a reward of 5,000 taels of silver and 100 bolts of silk. As I was bowing my head, I could hear the entire court of officials whispering behind my back. Princess Anping. Fits me perfectly. After court was dismissed, Ao Shui was waiting for me outside the palace gates. She pulled something out from her robes, the commander's seal. Sis, you hold on to this. I froze. Your military seal? You're watching my back, she said. From now on, I'll fight for the world out there. I'm leaving the home front to you. I didn't take it, I just stared at her for a long time. She simply shoved the heavy seal into my palm, then turned around and walked away. After a few steps, she looked back. Don't lose it. I gripped the commander's seal tightly. It still carried her warmth. Standing there on the jade steps before the palace gates, my palm suddenly felt burning hot. It was a huge reunion back at the censor's estate. Dad finally did something completely normal. He took an axe to the coffin that had been sitting in the main hall for 10 years. Hack after hack, he chopped it all into firewood. Mom used that very wood to cook a massive feast. Braised pork, stewed ribs, steamed fish, and stir-fried bamboo shoots. They were all my absolute favorites, and it was Ao Shui's first time tasting any of them. Growing up on the rough streets, she had hardly ever eaten a proper meal. Mom kept piling food into her bowl, her eyes completely red from crying. My 2 older brothers were drinking, their faces flushed and happy. Our family's number 3 is seriously amazing. Dad was slumped in the master seat, downing cup after cup of wine in silence. Towards the end of the meal, he slurred, "Girl." Sigh. Dad used to think your fear of dying was such a disgrace. I didn't say a word. But now I get it. Out of everyone in this house, you're the one who wanted us all to live the most. He stopped talking after that. He just gripped his wine cup, staring blankly at the chopped up remains of the coffin. I picked up a piece of rib with my chopsticks and chewed it for a long time. It tasted a little salty. Late that night, I collapsed onto my bed. They're so incredibly stubborn, this whole family of lunatics. But I guess I don't really hate it. I rolled over and stared at the bright moon outside the window. I thought about it for 5 minutes. Then, I hopped right out of bed, grabbed my shovel, and sneaked out to the backyard. I had already finished the blueprints for our 11th secret escape tunnel. Hey, some habits just refuse to die. 3 years later, the censor's estate became the most legendary household in the entire imperial capital. The estate boasted 2 remarkable daughters. One was the world-renowned defender general of the state, absolutely undefeated across the 9 provinces. The other was the legendary survivalist princess. Ao Shui's suitors lined up for 3 whole streets, only to get their legs broken by her. As for the guests who came to propose to me, they were mostly just after my family's wealth, and the rumored blueprints for my ultimate survival gadgets. I put out my requirements for a husband, wearing 50 pounds of gold chainmail every single day, taking part in monthly escape drills, and digging at least 1 new secret tunnel every year. No one dared to take the offer. Then, an ultra-urgent military dispatch arrived. Trouble at the border. Unknown forces had massed a massive army. They were marching right toward the border. Out of pure reflex, the whole manor snapped into battle-ready mode. Dad threw on his official robes and rushed off to strategize with the new emperor. Mom took down her dragon-carved moonblade from the wall. My eldest brother started taking stock of our men and carrier pigeons. Second brother sent a letter from the border saying they were on maximum lockdown. Ao Shui grabbed her blade, wrapped herself in her red cloak, and planned to ride out that very night. As for me, I banged the warning gong for the entire courtyard, then started hauling compressed emergency rations into the secret tunnels. We hustled like crazy for 3 whole days. On the 4th day, the latest urgent dispatch from the border arrived. It wasn't an enemy invasion at all. It was an envoy from an allied nation, a massive, grand-scale technical observation group. They had only one goal in mind: to study the cutting-edge defense tactics invented by the Great Chu's infamous survivalist princess. This included, but wasn't limited to, the formula for ultra-slick oil, the chemical breakdown of extreme itching powder, The blueprints for rapid-fire heavy crossbows, the science of excavating secret tunnels, and a complete guide to setting up pitfall traps at the city gates. I just stood there, dumbfounded for a good while. Then, my inner business mogul woke up. 1 month later, the Great Chu's very first Anping Applied Survival Academy officially opened for business. Headmaster Shen Mingshu, at your service. Our courses covered city defense trap deployment, the art of digging secret tunnels, crafting DIY gas masks, and mapping out the perfect escape routes. For our electives, custom fitting and maintenance for gold chainmail, advanced pepper spray mixing, and live fire drills with smoke bombs. The tuition was sky high, but the line of applicants stretched all the way from the inner city straight out to the suburbs. Because everyone just wanted to master a survival skill. No matter what disaster struck, they could make it home alive. Maybe this was the greatest core value of being absolutely terrified of dying. Ao Shui rushed back home from the border. When night fell, the two of us sat up on the watchtower, drinking. She wore her red cloak, a steel blade strapped to her waist. I was wearing 3 layers of gold chainmail, with my pear blossom needle shooters still tucked into my sleeves. The full moon was incredibly bright, the night breeze was gentle. Below the walls, the lights of 10,000 homes flickered. It was as lively as New Year's Eve. Ao Shui took a deep gulp of her wine. She tilted her head and looked at me. Sis, are you still afraid of dying? I took a big gulp too. The strong liquor burned on the way down, making my eyes sting. I squeezed the hidden weapons in my sleeve, looked down at those glowing lights below the wall, and said, I'm terrified, I told her, and because of that, if anyone dares to lay a finger on you guys, I will absolutely butcher them. Ao Shui smiled. She raised her wine bowl and clinked it against mine. Down below the tower, my eldest brother was chasing Dad to snatch his wine jug, while Mom yelled at them for wasting good liquor. Second brother's letter had just arrived, saying all was quiet at the border. I gazed at this beautiful mess, wrapped tight in my 3 layers of gold chainmail, clutching my pear blossom needle shooters, with my newly dug 11th secret tunnel right behind me. And honestly, I was thinking I should probably dig just one more.